The theme for this morning's convocation is delivering or fulfilling the promise. Last year when we met at Convocation, I suggested to us that there were forces of change at work across the nation and the world and in the Commonwealth of Kentucky that were impacting our business. And I tried to make the case that we should take control of our own destiny by doing the things we could that were within the purview of our control to manage, guide, and lead this place. As part of that work, I identified for you what I called some components of the university strategic plan that were necessary for us to pay attention to. Let me review those with you. I said that we had to have programs of high academic quality. In an era where there's tremendous competition from state institutions, private institutions, and for-profits, we need to be sure everything that we do academically, which is our core business, is of the highest quality possible. And that those programs be relevant in the 21st century. That's a hard pill for some of us to swallow because, of course, we are invested in our disciplines, and everything we do in a disciplinary sense we believe to be important. And yet we know there's a time to examine carefully and to sunset those programs that are no longer viable and bring on new programs that have vitality in the 21st century. I said that we needed to have appropriate academic and student support services, that if we're going to provide instruction, and we do, we need to surround all of that with appropriate support, both academically and for student configuration. It's very, very important. I indicated that a stable enrollment with improving retention was essential for our success. And also, have we lost the sound there? Do we have sound? We don't have any sound? I'm off? Well, some would think I'm off anyway, but I'm back on. Yeah, okay. I have sound now. Thank you. And then finally, I said one of the characteristics of the preferred future is that we had to have fiscal stability. In other words, a budget that we can count on year in and year out, so that we'll have the flexibility to fund those strategic initiatives that are vital to you as faculty and staff and to the institution to move us forward. I indicated, and I've come to use this phrase often, that if we plan our work and work our plan, we're likely to be successful. And in that context, what I'd like to do this morning is report to you on some of the things we accomplished this last year and where work continues to be ongoing. First and foremost, and most importantly for us, is the investments that we've made in you, our people. We've made significant investments this last year, and it's important that we remind ourselves of that. So we have fully funded the compensation plan. It took us 3 years to get the work done, but this last year finished, we concluded the staff component of the plan. So now all salaries on campus are at a market target level. In addition to that, the faculty made adjustments to the initial plan that was brought to them by the Office of Human Resources to incorporate a performance-based system. So that would continue to hold the faculty salaries at market in aggregate, but allow the distribution on an annual basis based on performance. And that occurred this year for the first time. This current year coming that we're in now, we will examine a performance component for the staff on the university campus, and figure out how to do that with conversation with our staff members. But merit is important to all of us. I want you to know that this investment in our people has been $7 million of recurring money over the last 3 years. So from this year forward, on an annual basis, we've invested $7 million in you because you're our most important people. Anybody like that idea? We did that at a time when the economy was tough, right? It's been a tough economy. You know, you've had to listen to me talk about it at Convocation twice a year, but the economy is improving in Kentucky. It's certainly improving nationally, and I think the future looks bright for us. But that commitment is a very significant commitment for us, and I'm excited about that. I hope you are as well. We're now in the process of examining and aligning the various PGs, the personnel policies, to make sure that they're consistent with the classification system and any review processes that we need going forward for reclassifications if they're necessary in the future. During this last year, difficult financial time, we continued to implement sabbatical leaves. I think we have 4 sabbatical leaves this year. And we made that choice as an institution that we wanted to fund these. It's important in the lives of our faculty to do so, and we were able to continue that. We have never slowed down international or even national travel, because that's important to our faculty and our staff to continue with their professional engagement and development. And I'm pleased that our staff congress several years ago really decided to ramp up professional development, and they have sponsored, along with the Office of Human Resources, a number of professional development activities meaningful for staff, as has the faculty through the Center for Leadership and Professional Development. Some of this work is outlined in the material that you received today, as is the listing of the 16 persons who joined the President's Leadership Academy this fall. Now I'd like to talk about the future. This last year we went through an academic self-study, and part of what we wanted to do there was to review our academic programs. We did that, and we implemented changes to realign those programs in what we believe to be consistent with 21st century directions and career opportunities. The deans, the department chairs, and the faculty are now in the process of implementing those recommendations. And the one message that I've heard from faculty is that the implementation of all that is really important, how we do the implementation. The provost has been very good about communicating with the faculty, and that work is ongoing, and I think you can expect that through the course of the semester and the year, the plan will be fully implemented, and it will be done in a way that respects the fact that there are some people moving departments, changing colleges and the like, but we want to do that in a way that makes people comfortable, and I feel confident we will do that. And that's particularly important for those programs that are in some status, modify and monitor, with 2 status components that were identified. So there's work to be done, and that work is important, and it needs to be done in a timely manner with the guidance of the academic community, and I feel confident that will occur also. The most exciting part looking forward, though, related to the self-study is the identification of new programs. One of the things that the provost talked a lot about through the forums and discussions with the faculty was we need to have an eye to the future. What are the programs that perhaps we're not offering that have vitality, that could be something that Morehead State University might embrace? And so he established a process to do that, and that will unfold this year. And that process will involve proposals that will be submitted by the faculty along with business plans. And then we've contracted with a firm, EduVentures, a national firm that does market analysis, and we will submit to this firm those proposals and have them examine them in light of the market we serve in our region to see whether or not there is viability for the programs in this region. So the end result of that would be that we'll know whether these good ideas have market viability. 2 potential programs have emerged that are of interest. One is in geospatial technology, and the other is the MSN nurse practitioner. So those may be the first up, because it's my understanding those proposals have been prepared and are ready for some examination. As a result of the self-study, some colleges have been reorganized. You know about all that, and I'm not going to cover a lot of that ground this morning, but now we have a College of Science, and we have a College of Business and Technology. A new school was created within the College of Business and Technology, and that school is the School of Engineering and Information Systems. We think that's a very good move in terms of creating an opportunity to bring together faculty in computer science and computer information systems that can, in the future, understand how best to move academic coursework that will benefit students and employers. We've received significant national and international interest recently, and we'll hear more about this year, for our program in space science, which is our program of distinction. Recently, you might have read, and it's in the material that you received, about a $7.9 million grant from NASA that we received with the Lockheed Martin Corporation to look for lunar ice. Look for lunar ice. Sounds a little spacey, doesn't it? It's a really significant endeavor for us. Will receive on your way out today a copy of this publication, which the provost and the deans have worked on. It's entitled Faculty Profiles of Research, Creativity, and Student Engagement. This is a sample of some great work that our faculty are doing in the area of research, and we wanted to have something that we could distribute to people like lawmakers and others that have an interest in the university, but their interest is at a very high level. They wouldn't be receptive to receiving the larger book that you received this morning that has all of the accomplishments that we did this last year that you accomplished. But this is something when they get this, they'll look and say, golly, that's happening at Morehead State. So I think I want to applaud the provost and the deans and others that worked on this, because it's a representative sample of the good work that you're doing at Morehead State, which is important not only to us here, but to those that support us in so many, many ways. We will continue to examine this year our regional campus centers. You know, those centers were created 20 plus years ago at a time when travel in the region was difficult. The use of the internet and online courses was just beginning, and we needed to be out in the region physically to do many things. That marketplace has changed. The needs have changed because of the developments of technology and the like. We've made the decision to close the West Liberty campus in terms of instruction for lots of reasons. The roads are better, students can get to campus more easily today. We will maintain a presence there, though. We have folks in the building in West Liberty that are doing other things besides instruction, and we're working with the people in that community to establish an ongoing presence there at Morehead State University, but it'll be a different presence. And we need to continue that examination with all of our regional campuses. I'm not suggesting we're going to get out of the instruction business there, but we need to be sure that the business plan that we have for each of those centers is appropriate, and that will be examined this year. Work is progressing on a winter term. You know, our world continues to change, and you faculty know that more than anybody. And the winter term is one of those ideas that has emerged across the country as of high interest for students. Busy people would like to be able to take classes in a shortened environment, a compact schedule, where they have time that they can devote full energy to that. The provost and the deans have identified some 25 courses that they are considering to be offered in the winter term, and there's lots of detail to be worked out around that, but we're excited about the potential for that, so that's coming. This last year, you know, we spent time looking at the schedule. We moved from a Monday, Wednesday, alternate Friday schedule to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. We gnashed our teeth a little bit and we struggled, but we got through it and we did pretty well. This fall, I think the schedule is in pretty good shape, but it is still a work in progress, and it'll continue to receive careful review and examination. And remember why we did it. We want to be able to provide the best opportunities for our students to receive instruction from us. And that was one of the things we heard from students. We've invested significant money in this year's budget in residential advisors. We have almost 3,000 students in residence halls. We're about 95% occupied for fall semester. And several years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, we made the decision during budget cuts to eliminate a significant number of RAs and move to a different model. And upon examination, we realized that wasn't a good decision. Things weren't going as well in the residence halls as they needed to go. So this year we've reinvested, we're fully staffed, and there's a lot of excitement about the staff that we have hired. We have just moved in this last Sunday, the 9th, the first class of the Craft Academy for Excellence in Mathematics and Science. What a wonderful thing for Morehead State University. This might be the most transformational thing that occurs on this campus in many, many years. It's our opportunity to receive the very best and brightest high school juniors that are here to finish their 2 years of high school in residence. They'll do their junior and senior year. And while they're here, they'll earn 60 hours of college credit in a dual credit format. They're living in Grody Thompson Hall. We moved them in on Sunday. There'll be an official ribbon cutting ceremony on August 27th, so stay tuned. But this idea came about because of the bipartisan leadership in the Senate with Senator President Robert Stivers and the House of Representatives Majority Floor Leader Rocky Adkins, and then the generous contribution of $4 million by Joe Kraft. Joe is the CEO of Alliance Resources Partners, one of the largest coal companies in the United States, from Hazard, Kentucky, and Belize, and giving back to his state and his region. We had a marvelous celebration of student scholarship in the spring, didn't we? If you, I know many of you, probably all of you participated in some way, but wasn't it an amazing thing to see all of those students with faculty mentors and the work that they accomplished? I have to believe that that sets us apart as an institution from many others like us. There were 115 faculty mentors and 313 student presentations. It was an incredible show of quality work, and I want to thank you faculty for your leadership in that. You know, we continue to make progress in athletics. This last year, for the first time since 1983, baseball won the OVC championship and went to the NCAA. Now that may not be a big deal to you. I say to my friends who love baseball, it's kind of like watching paint dry, but it sure was exciting to watch our team, because these young men, under Coach McGuire's leadership, did a fantastic job this year. It's a great example of talented people coming together to accomplish something really special. But it's not just baseball. 100 of our student athletes, and we have about 350 student athletes on the campus, 100 of them this year received accolades by being inducted into the Ohio Valley Commissioners Honor Roll, which means they had to have a grade point average of at least 3.25 and be fully eligible to play that year. So it's a really big deal. Almost a third of those of our student athletes were in that category. 17 of those student athletes had 4.0 grade point averages. So I know at times people wonder, why is athletics important? It's important for a lot of reasons, but here at Morehead State University, the vast majority of our student athletes are also very good students. In the counseling and health services on our campus, several years ago we made a transition to a nurse practitioner managed clinic, and I know some of you take advantage of it as faculty and staff, and that's fine. We encourage you to do that where it makes sense, but it's a wonderful resource for our students. Quality care is provided, and under the leadership of Dr. Gerald DeMoss 3 years ago now, maybe 4 years ago, partnering with University of Kentucky retired Dean Rayner Mullins of the dental school, these two guys decided that oral care in Kentucky had to improve, and they wrote a grant to the Appalachian Region Commission that was all about trying to create an infrastructure in Kentucky to educate young people to know dentistry had potential as a career. And as part of that, at the university in the Department of Biology and Chemistry at the time, they introduced some coursework that would enable students to get a leg up as undergraduates in the field of dentistry. Some of those courses are in place. I was told this year that we had more students apply and be accepted to dental school than we've ever had before. And in addition to that, so creating the pipeline was part of that, we also decided that we wanted to do something about oral care on our campus. You probably know this, but I wasn't very familiar with the facts. Oral health affects everything in your body. You know, if you have real problems with your dentistry, it affects everything in your body. And so we decided that they decided they'd write an additional grant to create a dental operatory here in our clinic. So last year, with funding from the ARC, we opened a dental suite in the student health clinic. The dental suite has a fully functioning dental office, operatory, I guess, chair, x-ray equipment to do all that. And there's a dentist and an assistant that comes one day a week, and a dental hygienist that comes another day. And this is available to our students. And our goal is to make sure we help them early on in their lives when intervention can make a difference with their oral care. I want to thank Gerald. He's sitting over here, and he's a guy that, you know, he doesn't, here's Gerald now. Gerald's one of those guys, he's kind of quiet, but he really works, and he cranks it out. And he's always got good ideas. And he and Rainer Mullins, who's the retired dean at the UK in dentistry, they're a team. You don't get in their way. If they get an idea, you say, yes, yes, sir, yes, sir, do it. 2,300 students this last year participated in student activities on this campus. 2,300 students in recognized student organizations, meaning the fraternities, sororities, and the various organizations we have. It's an increase of 14%. 12.5% growth in the Greek organizations. That's important for us. We know that students that get anchored into student organizations or work on campus are more likely to persist through graduation than those that do not. So that's a very positive sign. The leadership of student government this last year, as they were leaving, told me that they felt that campus life at Morehead State University was the best that's ever been, that there was more buzz about it among the students, that there was a sense of eagle pride. And you know, it's something that we've worked at, but you help with that tremendously from the vantage point of where you serve, whether it's in the faculty or the staff. The way we talk about the place, what we show up and attend to is important. So thank you for your support of that. It's important. The Office of Career Services on our campus is very important. We established that operation 7 or 8 years ago, I suppose, and the goal there was to better prepare students to go into the world of work. Julia and her team have done a marvelous job of setting up a professional office, and the whole goal there is to assist students and faculty with preparation so that our students, as they're leaving us, have places to go to work in their career fields. And so it involves internships and preparation. It involves appropriate professional dress. It involves resume preparation. It involves interaction with business leaders and companies that are looking for individuals. And so job fairs, and you've seen the signs, and many of you have participated. Our students have greatly benefited from that. And I want to thank that group, and there's a lot more work going on there, but it's very important work. The campus master plan is work that I've talked about in the past, so I'm not going to go through all of that, but a faculty member recently said to me it's the best blueprint that she had seen with respect to presenting something that would help a campus to go forward. And if you haven't taken the time to look at the campus master plan, it's online, and it's tremendous work. Beth Patrick and her team in facilities, Rick Lineo and others, and many of you participated. The leadership came from administration and fiscal services, but it's about having a blueprint for where we're going as a campus. We did interviews, the deans were involved, we looked at enrollment reports, we tried to understand where we're going as a university, to look at our buildings, the facilities necessary to support our instruction and research and service, and then to map that out in a way that was responsible. So we know where we're going strategically from our Aspire strategic plan. The campus master plan is the plan that helps us understand the physical requirements associated with it. Part of the campus master plan is the housing plan. We've talked about it before, but now under construction is a 24-bed unit at the Derrickson Agricultural Complex, the University Farm. It'll house 24 students. It'll be open probably in late September. They're a little behind schedule, and then they'll start on a second building there that'll house another 24 students. So we'll have about 50 students living at the farm ultimately. It's a wonderful living, learning laboratory. In addition to that, on that end of the campus, which direction is that, Jamie? That end of the campus where you live would be east. On the east end of the campus, right adjacent to Alumni Tower, there's earth moving going on there, and that's where the new 550-bed residence hall will be built. Those are suite-style rooms. It's what students have asked us to build. And you know, if you read the literature, there's a lot in there today about universities are going nuts building, you know, sports bars and all these high-end amenities, and it's not where we should be spending our money. That's not what we're building there. We're building quality housing to replace housing stock that's out of date. So we've torn down Waterfield Hall. When this new facility is done, our plan is to take down Cooper Hall, probably Normal Hall, and perhaps Butler. That's yet to be determined. And then we'll have renovations to Cartmel, and the housing plan will be complete. We will actually end the plan with the same number of beds approximately we started with, but they'll all be quality beds. One of the things that people continue to ask about on campus is where are we getting all this money and how are we funding this? It's important for me to say again, all the money that is going to do this, it's a $30 million project. The money for that comes entirely from bonds money that we borrow. And the payment on those bonds comes from the revenues that students pay to live in housing. We have to show that revenue stream before the bond folks will ever let us borrow money. So it's not state money, it's not taxpayer money, it's not money that we can take out of the bank and spend to support anything that faculty or staff do. It's particular money for a particular purpose, all right? So please understand that. And if we don't have modern facilities, we'll not be competitive. Right next door where the Waterfield Hall used to be, as soon as we get classes started and we're settled in the fall semester, contractors will be moving in. They've been selected to begin the construction of a 400-unit parking garage and an associated dining hall facility. It's in one large complex. There again, this is not money out of our general fund budget. It is not money that we borrowed from the state. We have a wonderful partnership with Aramark, our food service provider. They put $10 million into the project. We've been accumulating money in a reserve account. When we increased parking fees in 2007-8, we set aside money and told you at the time that we would ultimately build 2 parking garages on this campus. One east, that's that one, and one west. Yet to be determined. The master plan has some sites in there. So again, these dollars are dollars that are dedicated for a particular purpose, and we're spending them wisely to do what we need to do. We will wind up with a better use of land around the campus because we'll take some surface parking and put it in a garage. It makes better sense. They're expensive to build, but it's a good investment, and we'll have a wonderful food service facility for our students. And they deserve that, and they're paying for it. We're in the final planning stages for the renovation of the University Center across the street, ADUC, and that's state money. That money was awarded to us in the last biennial budget, almost $50 million for expansion and renovation of the University Center. We're going to add 60,000 square feet on the east end of the building, and then we're going to renovate everything in the building with the exception of the bookstore. It pretty much stays as it is. It will be truly a transformational facility for students. We're somewhat limited with the facility we have now. It's pretty old and tired once you get back past the front end of the building. This will enable us to have truly magnificent facilities. Again, not ostentatious. It'll have the things in it that we need to support students and faculty and staff in the activities that we need to do here on this campus. And then finally on this topic, our 6-year capital budget has been submitted. There are 2 projects that will be of high interest to the faculty and staff. On the new construction side, the request is for $55 million to build a new education performance venue. That's the facility that we've worked with the faculty in the College of Arts, Humanities, and Cottle College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences that would house music, theater, and dance. At the entrance to the campus, it will be a magnificent facility that our faculty need to teach students in the 21st century. You only need to go in Baird Music Hall a few times to know it's a tired building, and it's heavily used. And our goal is to replace it and to put our faculty and staff in a facility that is what they need to teach. And so that's the first new construction project. On the renovation side is the renovation of the Combs building. It's been on the list a long time, and faculty routinely ask, whatever happened to Combs? The way that money comes through the state now is that they kind of divide new capital construction from renovation. So we'll have to lobby to see where we can get funds from the General Assembly, but those are our 2 highest priorities. There's a technology plan. Many of you have been involved in that. There's a technology advisory board. It's composed of individuals, staff, administrators, and faculty. It's guiding the institution. We hired a firm 2 years ago to help us develop a master plan. We borrowed $10 million. The debt service on that's being paid for with bonds with bond indebtedness that went away. So we have a revenue stream there. And it's going to be transformational in the sense that when we complete the project, and it'll be a 2-year project, it's underway now, we will have new fiber optic on the campus that'll gives us 10 times more bandwidth than we have right now. 10 times more bandwidth. Well, those of you that are heavy bandwidth users know that it gets slow around here at times. 10 times will be a big improvement. Students on average bring 6 or 8 devices to campus. When I heard that, I was blown away. What do they bring? Well, they got a cell phone, they got an iPad, they got a laptop, they got a game, something or other, So when they start streaming video, it consumes a lot of bandwidth. And those of you that teach using those technologies use a lot of bandwidth. So the goal here is to make sure that the infrastructure supports what you need to do your work and what our students need to do what they do. In addition, we'll have ubiquitous Wi-Fi. I had to have Beth look that up the other day when she laid that on me. I mean, we use that term a lot, ubiquitous. That means it's everywhere. It's right, sort of omnipresent. Maybe it's like God, omnipresent, ubiquitous Wi-Fi. So when students are walking around on campus, in the buildings, it'll be there and available for them and for us. In addition to that, we're going to address the safety concerns on campus. You know, every campus today is concerned about safety of their students, given what's happened across the nation in the last few years. We got to be sure our lighting is up to date. We have to be sure that we're monitoring the remote parts of the campus, the parking lots, things of that nature in a manner that assures safety and security. We have to have alert systems that tell us when storms are likely to hit and the like. And then we want to move away from key locks on most of our buildings and doors to electronic locks. And so that's part of this project as well. In the next 2 years, you'll see and hear a lot about that. But I want you to be aware of it. As part of this technology project, we'll be moving away from ITV. It's an old technology, and there's discussion now among the provost and the dean's faculty and chairs about what's next and what do we replace it with. We've talked about MAP, which is the program through which we distribute the university-owned computers. We're going to change that program. The funding for that will be decentralized down to the department level with some structure. And of course, this whole business of cloud technology. You know, when I was a young guy in the business, you went to a dumb terminal to do your work, right? And the computer was somewhere. You didn't know where it was, but it was out there. Well, we're kind of going back to that. Dumb terminals with our storage in the cloud and all, and it almost seems like deja vu all over again, as Yogi Bear would say. But we're kind of heading that way with virtual desktops and cloud computing. Also, the world accesses the university through the www site, right? If you do this all the time. When you want to check on somebody else someplace else, you go out to the World Wide Web, you get on the website and you look at them. We've struggled in the last few years with www, you know, what is it and how it's presented. We just finished an RFP that's going out to have a firm come in and look at the structure of www and help us with that, so that we can have the very best face, the public face to the university, and then we'll still have to populate it. And in other words, our goal will be to put the information in there and keep it timely, but the form and structure of it is really important. In addition to that, we'll be doing have more discussions about the portal, the internal side of the computer operation, so that we do that well for you, for our students, for our employees. You know, a theme that's really important to us that assures our success or our demise is partnerships. As I've thought about my work here and the relationships I have with many people, it's all about how we engage others to work with us. And you could think about this narrowly or broadly, depending, I guess, on your place in the room. But for me, it's how to engage many others with the university broadly. An example of that is SOAR, the Shaping Our Appalachian Region. You've been reading about it. Governor Beshear, Congressman Rogers have decided they're going to take on the problems of Eastern Kentucky with the loss of 8,000 coal jobs, and they're going to help invigorate or reinvigorate or incentivize or do things that will help transform a region that's really struggling. That has significant impact for us. 60% of our students, at least the last time I looked, I don't know what it is this fall, I'll check it out, but 60% of our students historically come from 22 counties in Eastern Kentucky. Most all of them are coal counties. And yet I know that families are leaving the region because they don't have work. They've got to go elsewhere. This is going to have a real impact on us. So folks in our Center for Regional Engagement, many faculty are working on individual projects, and the goal there is to try to help create opportunity for the infusion of new ideas and opportunities in the region. Entrepreneurship seems to be one of the most important things that we can do. How do we educate our students here that they'll have interest in going back home to start a business? Because those coal jobs are not going to come back in the numbers that they were lost. I'm not saying it's a lost industry, but I'm saying it's going to be very difficult for that to occur. So we've got to find new ways to do it. We opened under Bob, what's Bob's name, the College of Business Dean? Do you remember?
He's right over there.
Where is he? Bob Albert, under Bob Albert. You know, I'm getting these senior moments where Gerald DeMoss sent me a thing about how you know if you got Alzheimer's. I couldn't tell you about it here, but I just looked at it. It was pretty funny. Had this whole list of words where letters had been left out and you're supposed to fill them in, and when you filled them in, you put in all the things you thought, and every one of them was wrong. And the bottom line was, you don't have Alzheimer's, but you ask him and he'll tell you what the bottom line was. So I have these moments where I lose my train of thought. But under Bob Albert's leadership, thank you, I'm back to where I was, Dean of the College of Business and Technology. We're creating a center there for entrepreneurship. We will be in a search shortly for a chair. They are using money from two endowments, the Booth and the Smith endowments. They've given us permission to focus their dollars there. And we've created the Launchpad on Main Street, which is a new business incubator. The goal there on my thinking is to help our students understand you can learn to become an entrepreneur, and there's a place to get started if you have a good idea. And I hope we can launch people back into the region to get some of this going, because that's the way I think we can help transform. So partnerships, SOAR is really important. We're intimately involved in it. I serve on the Futures Committee of SOAR. Beth Patrick has been meeting with the Business Leaders Committee with SOAR. One of Jonathan Gay, one of our staff members, is on the steering committee, and a number of other people are involved in it. Partnerships go many directions. One of those areas we've celebrated this morning when we recognize people for their research and scholarship, but grants and contracts is really about partnerships. We have some faculty and staff, but primarily faculty on campus that have been very successful partnering with institutes like the National Institute for Health, the National Science Foundation, and other agencies where significant and quality research leads to significant and quality funding. And many opportunities, and one I mentioned previously is what's going on with NASA, the Lunar Ice Project. We've been very successful with the Appalachian Region Commission. That's a true and deep partnership. You know, you might not recognize this, but the folks in nursing sitting back there, I can see the chair, we received $500,000 when we built the Share Building from ARC in a partnership to put equipment in those laboratories. Grant written by Gerald DeMoss, by the way. Space science, we received $500,000 in equipment from the ARC because of partnership. Every ARC proposal we've put in the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years that was a subject to pre-proposal, I think they've all been funded because of the partnership we have with the people that make the decision and their confidence that if we put a proposal in, we'll do what we say we're going to do. So that's part of our obligation, and you all do that very well. The College of Education, and I don't have enough time this morning to go through all this. It's in this booklet that you picked up. The College of Education is doing some amazing things right now. They're involved in some grant and contract activity that's truly remarkable. Krista Barton, the 21st Century Education Classroom, they're working hard at transforming the lives of teachers out in the region. We will announce shortly a private gift that will enable us to become a You Teach campus, which is a really big deal, and that's because of the relationships that some of us developed with the family. It's a really interesting story. The woman in this family came to Morehead State University, and she's in her late 80s now, but when she graduated, she's an elementary teacher, she felt underprepared to teach math and science. And so all these years later, her family's been very, very successful. All these years later, she remembered, though, how important Morehead State University was to her, and she and her husband decided to contact us and say, you know, we'd like to do something there at your place. And the result of them doing something will be a gift that'll be about almost $4 million, and we'll get a pretty good chunk of that, and the rest of it will go to You Teach. It'll come back through the university. It'll enable the folks in the College of Ed to do some remarkable work with STEM education. So I want to applaud them. The people in Applied Engineering and Technology worked hard to secure a grant from the James Graham Brown Foundation to create a Center for Manufacturing Excellence as a $500,000 grant. And I know there's a lot more about this in the handout. But what I'm saying is that it's about the partnerships. A lot of this we could not do with institutional money because we don't have the money. What these opportunities do is provide leverage for us so that we can find somebody that'll donate money to match a gift from somebody else, and it's a big deal. We were notified this summer the Governor's Scholars Program will be back on campus for the next 3 years. It's a really, really important idea. These young men and women come here and have a great experience, and many of them want to come back here to college. And so you benefit as faculty and we as staff when they come sit in our classrooms and we do business with them because they're great young people. I mentioned Aramark previously. They're a wonderful partner. They provided $10 million to help us with this new food service facility. And how many of you have benefited from farm to table this summer? You've perhaps had some corn or tomatoes. This morning, if you had a sausage biscuit in the Camden Carroll Library, and thank you, David Gregory and staff, those sausage biscuits were made from hogs from the farm. I asked Brent Rogers if he'd help grow the hog, and he said no, but I sure do thank him. He had 2 biscuits on his plate. That's good. He said they were really good. So, but it's just one example of a partnership that's really local. We're working carefully. The University Farm is, as I said, is a great living, learning laboratory for our students. These young men and women get true science education in an environment where it's actually happening. And I go out there regularly just to walk around and talk to folks and look around. It's very, very well run. We have a partnership with Pomeroy, a company out of northern Kentucky that's doing the infrastructure work on our technology. They brought to campus the CEO of Cisco companies during the summer, and Cisco has asked us to send some folks out to California to look at some of the things they're doing. This is a really big deal. I mean, these companies have resources that they'll make available to partners if we're interested, and so we'll follow up on that. We probably don't spend enough time bragging about you, individuals. We tend in a lot of our work to talk about stuff, but we have people doing amazing work. We talk a lot about faculty because that's the heart of our business. But on the staff side, we have staff individuals that are involved in national positions as well. And I want to just mention too this morning, just so you're aware of what's happening on the staff side, Bill Redwine is the president of the National Association of College and University Auxiliary Services, the national president for Morehead State University. This year, Bill will be traveling all around the country speaking to people at colleges and universities about the work of auxiliary services. On our campus, our auxiliary budget's about how many dollars, Beth? $20 million, and it benefits the university in many ways. The bookstore would be an example. It's very well run. It's run as an enterprise, and then we benefit because dollars come from that enterprise to help us with the general fund of the university, so it's very, very important. LaDonna Purcell, who directs our purchasing operation. LaDonna is the president of the Southeastern chapter of the National Association of Educational Procurement Officer. LaDonna's worked really hard to become certified in a number of areas, and she's a great example of a staff member who is really committed to professional development so that she can do a better job for us. Would you congratulate these people? It's a big deal. Thank you. So, if you look at the year, we've accomplished a lot. There's work that continues, and some of that's embedded in the comments that I made. If we, kind of look ahead here a little bit in terms of priorities, here's what I would suggest, and I've got these kind of in 2 categories. Priorities for all of us. This is what I think we ought to be working on this year, that we ought to continue to work our plans. And we have lots of plans in place, and we're not intending to create a bunch more plans, but there are plans in place. And so you can look at the strategic plan, you can look at the master plan. Those are things we watch, but within academic affairs and in student life and development and the like. There are individual plans. Work our plans, because that's how we gauge our success. You've got a plan, work the plan. Second, we're going to fully implement the recommendations of the self-study. That work is underway. The provost has communicated broadly about that. The deans, chairs, and the faculty are fully engaged in it, and we'll see that work through to conclusion this year. We have to prepare ourselves for the SAC's fifth-year visit. Pleased to recognize Darren DeMoss is sitting back here. Darren, stand up, will you? Just so everybody can see you. Darren's agreed to take leadership in that process. I think we ought to thank Darren. That's a big undertaking. And the SAC's process has changed from a number of years ago, and now it's, you do your tenure evaluation, and we had a very good result of that evaluation, and then halfway through you have to report back, and it's a very significant review. It's not trivial, and it's not superficial, and that review will help point us toward the 10-year review 5 years later. So we have to do a good job with it. So when Darren comes to Colin, or comes to emailing, or comes to talking, please listen to him. We have to prepare for that. We've got to strengthen teamwork and communication. This last year was a challenge for all of us for many reasons, but my view on that is if we really are committed to working together, and if we'll try to communicate effectively, we're going to get down the road to accomplish the things we set out to do. And so I would ask that those be our common priorities. And then for me personally this year, here are the things that I'm going to work on. This is a biennial budget year starting in January, which means that the General Assembly sets the budget for the next 2 years in the Commonwealth. What we're trying to do in higher education is to get the General Assembly to restore at least half of the money that they cut since 07-08. Higher ed lost $173 million since 07-08. So we'd like to have them restore half of that. For Morehead State University, what that would mean is about $3 million in the biennial budget, the rest restored funds in the biennial budget. So we'd get, $1.6 million a year each year, the next 2 years if they did that. That would help us, because those are general fund appropriations, and that's ongoing money that would come back. In addition to that, performance funding is coming. It's not, maybe it's going to come, it's coming. It's already been decided we're going to have performance funding. What that's going to mean, we don't know yet, but that work of defining the characteristics, the performance metrics is just beginning now. So the General Assembly will be appraised of that, and we think that if we approach it properly, we can take control of our destiny. We can define the performance metrics that will determine how much money will come to the university and under what conditions, and we can be successful. But it's going to require teamwork on our part. It can't be an us and them situation, because if we don't work together to achieve the metrics that are defined, we won't receive the money. And if that happens, we'll have less money to work with than what we need to run the place. And then we'll be lobbying, obviously, for the capital request. I've mentioned that, and that's an important part of what I do. And then in addition to that, I'm going to try to raise $3 million in private money. Every year, and I don't really talk much about this, but we have a comprehensive campaign that was kicked off in 07, 08. We've really raised about $30 million in a $25 million campaign, but some of the objectives in the campaign haven't been met. And that's because people have given us money, but not necessarily for the priorities in the campaign. They gave us money for other priorities. And so we still have the need to raise about $10 million to address all the campaign priorities. So my goal this year personally is to try to raise $3 million. And that means I've got to get off campus more. That means the provost and the chief financial officer and others are going to have to assume more day-to-day responsibility. And of course, they're very anxious for me to go, so they can do that, and I am too. And then for me also personally, we have to improve teamwork in the communication with stakeholders. For me, I have lots of stakeholders. A primary stakeholder for me is the Board of Regents. Paul Goodpass was the chair. Paul and I have a very strong relationship, but there are 11 board members, 8 of whom are appointed by the governor, and it's really important that we keep actively engaged with that group. We've been blessed in my time here. We've not had a contentious board. Some universities have lots of problems with their boards. That's never been a problem for us. And I attribute that to the leadership of the board, in this case Paul and his predecessor, John Moore, Sylvia Lovely, Jim Booth. We've had really strong leadership there on the board. We want to continue that. But that's just one stakeholder. The governor is a stakeholder. I can pick up the telephone and call the governor and do. Members of the General Assembly, the leadership on both sides of the aisle are really important to us. And I've built a strong relationship with them. But as you know, relationships are relationships. You have to nurture them. And so come January, I need to spend a lot of time down there working with Senator Stivers, the Senate education people. I need to be working with Greg Stumbo, the Speaker of the House, and Rocky Atkins, the Majority Floor Leader, and Derek Graham, the Chair of the House Education Committee, and we'll do all of that. So that's on the external side and more, but then there's all of us. The relationship that we have is very, very important. And the degree to which we choose to work together, the way that we communicate with one another is very, very important. And I hope this year we will pledge to do that in a manner that's really helpful and thoughtful and forward-looking. The provost and I have been meeting with senior faculty over the last few weeks. We've had two really nice meetings. We asked, the provost asked the deans to identify senior faculty who were opinion leaders from each of the colleges, the departments, and so we've had two really nice meetings, and they've been very helpful. And our goal was to listen about the experiences that faculty were having so that we could be informed about what's working well and what needs to be improved. I believe at my core that part of my job is to set the tone for improvement. I'm not one that believes in just standing on tradition and staying in place. I think if we're not improving what we do, we're not making progress. And so we heard a lot of things that are helpful. I'll share a few of those, but I don't have time this morning to go into all the details, but we heard some things that were helpful. One, faculty said that the master plan was well done, helpful and informative, and will lead the way to improving the place. The physical plant, the campus is beautiful. We hear that all the time, and that hasn't happened by accident. I've told you before, when I came here, I was really disappointed with how we cared for our place, and I think we've made significant improvements of that. Faculty, the leaders have said they really appreciate the compensation plan, that it has made a difference in their pocketbook, and we know that's important to you. We also heard communication continues to be a challenge, that top-down communication at times is not very effective, that we need more horizontal communication. But I will also say we had at least 2 or 3 faculty in those groups say, you communicate plenty, we just have to listen. So it's somewhere in there, though, communication is obviously still a challenge. So here are a few things we're going to do about it. The provost is going to continue to meet with departments 4 times a year, 2 each semester. He'll schedule with you and sit down and talk, because one of the things we heard was the direct communication, the face-to-face, is really important. He received accolades from these folks with respect to the self-study in terms of the quality of his direct communication with the campus. People were informed about what was going on and how things were going to happen. I'm going to ask the deans this morning, I'd like every dean this fall semester to have at least one open forum for faculty and staff in their college, just as I do for the university community. Set a time and a place and invite all the faculty and staff to come and sit and listen to what people have on their minds. We're going to get a lot further if we listen to one another. And I think it's very important. And we heard that message, I've heard that message clearly from some senior leadership, that there needs to be more horizontal communication. So deans, let me know when you're going to do it, because I'll be interested to hear from you about it. We've established a new portal site. Jamie Hornbuckle and her team have designed the site. It's called The Source, and it will be a place where we will post information that is significant to the campus. Maybe it's controversial, or it may result from questions that we receive that we think have a university-wide impact. So we'll try to post information there. Keep it up to date. It'll be helpful to you to know what the correct information is, if you please. Because campuses as large as us, rumors run rampant, and that need not be the case. So we'll try to do a better job with that through The Source, and there'll be more information coming out about that. I'll continue to hold at least one forum every semester semester. So we'll plan one sometime this semester, invite everybody to come. I've always found those helpful. Ron Morrison, who was regent formerly, said to me one time, he said, I don't know how you do it. Stand in front of all those people and take all those questions. But he said, I appreciate it. And I appreciate him saying it because, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable. But honestly, if you have a question and it's a sincere question that you have, why shouldn't you be able to ask it? And if I'm not a big enough guy to respond to those, then I shouldn't be doing the job. And then finally, I would say on that topic, my door's always open. I really appreciate this last semester. I had 7 or 8 senior faculty come to see me. Just called and said, could we talk? And in some cases, I called them and said, please come to talk. And I had an opportunity to listen to what was on their minds about what we were doing or not doing. And I found it helpful because I don't have a crystal ball. I have antenna out there occasionally, but everything I get may be filtered. So I appreciate it. If you have a concern or a suggestion or a commendation, I love to hear those, and I appreciate it. Kentucky's motto, it's the Great Seal, it's on the front of the building, of the administration building, is united we stand, divided we fall. There's no question in my mind that if we continue to work together to achieve our plans and our goals, that we will be successful. It doesn't mean there aren't going to be bumps in the road. I've never been on a journey where I haven't hit a pothole or two, or I haven't had to cross a speed bump. In fact, if you ride a bicycle like we do and you hit the rumble strips, you know what I'm talking about. But it's how we deal with the bumps that's really important. It's how we deal with the bumps that's important. It's how we talk with and treat one another that's really important. The latter 2 things will determine our degree of success. If we pledge we're going to work together, that we're going to communicate regularly, and that we're going to do so respectfully, we'll be successful. So I've, as one person, pledged to work hard on your behalf. I pledge to communicate thoroughly, thoughtfully, and respectfully as we work to make Morehead State University a great place to work, to learn, and to live. I trust you will pledge to do the same.